Hey guys, if you've been watching the news at all these days, you can just see so much uncertainty and disruption, so much division, fear, anger, all kinds of stuff going on right now in the news. It's actually kind of hard to watch if you watch too much of it. But I want to share just a couple quick things that I think would be helpful for all of us, just as aspiring leaders to think about. I read a book a couple years ago called Antifragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and this is a great book, and I love the subtitle, Things That Gain from Disorder. And that's really kind of the principle of this book, is that the role that disorder plays. I want to read you the opening couple sentences in this book because it sets up the rest of the book. Listen to what he says. He says, "Wind extinguishes a candle, yet energizes a fire. Likewise, with randomness, uncertainty, and chaos, you want to use them, not hide from them. You want to be the fire and wish for the wind." I love that line. You want to be the fire and wish for the wind. You know what you don't want to be? You don't want to be a candle. Because when the wind comes, the candle gets extinguished. But the fire, it's energized by the wind and it makes it stronger. So what's the point? The point is that, throughout our history as a country, we've been through many kind of periods of time when there was just such mass upheaval and disruption that people during those times wondered, are we going to make it through it? And you know what? We always have. We've always made it through those times. And in fact, it's because our country was filled with people who were not candles, but they were a fire, that the wind of disorder, of disruption and chaos fueled that fire and made that fire stronger. It made it more capable of withstanding more and more wind. And that's what we need to be today. If you're a candle, any sort of disruption and chaos and disorder can easily just blow your light out. And that's not what you want to be. You need the wind because it's the wind that allows the fire to grow. And so what we're experiencing right now, all of the disruption that is going on right now, it's there to literally make this nation stronger. Everything is being challenged to the core. Our legal system, our systems, our structures as a society, our political parties, everything is being challenged right now. And I think that is a very good thing and probably long overdue, because it's the disruptions that are going to force us to really decide the kind of people that we are and who we want to be. We have made it through every challenge that there's ever been in this country, and this one will be no different. You don't have to go much farther than even just the year 2000 when you had a presidential election, the Gore-Bush election, with no ultimate decision for about 36 days. And the country was just on pins and needles. Everybody was upset. So much disruption, so many strong opinions. And yet, that seems like forever ago. That was 20 years ago, and we survived as a country. And someday, we will look at this period of time and look back at it, and it will be in the distant mirror. But what we can take from this is, how have we allowed these circumstances right now to make us better and stronger as individuals and leaders? How we talk to people, how we make sense of the difficulties and the challenges, how we make sense of the celebrations, and how we make sense of the sense of loss for some people. However this thing plays out, it doesn't matter. We all have the same responsibility, and that is, how am I going to allow the winds of disorder, the winds of disruption and chaos to, as it blows on my fire, how is it going to make me stronger and bigger and better as an individual and not worse? That is the key. There's a quote in a movie called Tin Cup that I remember I watched a number of years ago with Kevin Costner. He's kind of this washed up golfer and very talented though. And he finally decides that he wants to try to qualify for the US Open, and he does. And he makes it to the US Open, and shockingly, he takes the lead all the way into the final round. And on the final round, towards the end of his round, all he's got to do is play it safe, and he's going to win the US Open Golf Championship. And he is a little bit too far from the green to make it with his 3-wood, but he decides He wants to really give it his best shot. And so he pulls out his 3-wood and he hits it, and he hits it in the water. His caddy tells him to take a drop up by the water so he can just kind of chip it and putt in and still win. Costner doesn't do it. He drops the ball right there. And he says, "What are you doing?" And he hits the ball and he hits it in the water. He pulls out another ball, drops it, hits it in the water. Hits, I can't remember, 9, 10, 11 balls in the water. The caddy cannot believe that he just threw away the US Open. And Kevin Costner looks at him and he says a quote that I've always remembered. I think it's probably the most profound quote in that movie. And he says this to his caddy. He said, "You know, you either define the moment or the moment will define you." And I thought, wow, what a great line. What a great truth to live by, that you will either be defined by the moment or you will define the moment. And you know, right now, each one of us have an opportunity to either be defined by the moment that's going on. And what that means is that I'm going to let the uncertainties and the disruptions around me to define me, that the worst of me comes out, which later can really hurt me. Or I can choose to define the moment, that in spite of all that's going on around me, I'm going to define the moment and the type of person that I'm going to choose to be in light of everything going on around me. That's what a great leader does. That's what we want to do. That's what I want to challenge all of us to strive for, is to not be defined by this moment, by saying things you will regret later, saying stupid things, saying divisive things. I want to challenge you to define the moment. It doesn't mean that we don't have convictions. It doesn't mean that we're not honest with what we believe, but it means that the way that I say what I say is what matters. It's the way that I say it, because how you say what you say will either define you in that moment or you will define who you choose to be in that moment. Something to think about today as we continue to go for these next probably few weeks, going through a lot of uncertainty. I just want to challenge us to make sure that we are not the candle that gets blown out, but we are the fire that lets the wind continue to make us bigger and stronger than we are as we define the moment and define the people that we want to be.